Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 15 of Blackhawks Banter presented by the Hockey Writers. If you're new, welcome. We join weekly every Monday night at 7 p.m. Central here on the Hockey Writers YouTube channel to discuss everything related to the team. So be sure to like, follow, and subscribe so you don't miss our shows. And our team is composed of myself, Brooke LoFurno, Gail Kauchak, Greg Boysen, and Shaun Filippelli. That's our same team, no differences. So, hello, everyone. I know that we're streaming right now during the Detroit Hawks matchup, which is a little new for us. This is our first time doing it. So, sorry that this is kind of in the middle of everything, but we promise we'll make it worth your while. So, we have a lot to discuss. So, let's get right to it. We're kind of on a high note right now because we got 6 out of 8 points in our series against Columbus and Dallas, which is amazing. We didn't know what to expect from that series. And now during this game, we are winning currently 1-0, thanks to a goal by Janmark. So hopefully the good times roll, but we have to kind of talk about the bad news, which is our injury report, which is very somber and not really good. So Connor Murphy has a right hip injury and he'll miss 10 to 14 days. And Andrew Shaw got another concussion, and now he's back on. Both are on the injured reserve, but Shaw especially is really bad because he obviously just came back from a concussion. Now he's got another one. And frankly, both of these are very significant losses for the team. So how do you guys think that this will impact the team? Shaun, I'm going to start with you.
Yeah, it's never good to hear that players are out, regardless what the injury is. But I got to start by saying I'm confident that I speak for us all when I touch on Shaw with his history of head trauma. I got to say that all of us obviously collectively wish him well. And I think I just hope he does whatever he needs to do and makes whatever decisions are best for him and his health at this point. Obviously, it's out of our hands as fans, but I think it's important to note that even if this was the last time we saw him in a Blackhawks uniform, I think that we collectively can agree that if that's what's best for him, then that's what's best for all. So that's certainly an okay decision, and I want him to know that fans support that of him, so he doesn't feel that pressure and does whatever he needs to do to get back to health. As far as these injuries go for the team, I got to say, without sounding overly confident here, because this is still a rebuilding squad, with the challenges these guys face heading into the season, with the injuries we're already seeing in Doc and Taves, and the struggles that they've had with players being in and out of the lineup through this first little stretch here, they're still doing better than most of us expect. So as far as it goes, as far as the hockey is concerned, to be honest, again, without trying to sound overly confident here, I'm not overly concerned when players are out at this point because of how they've been able to adapt, the prospects that have been able to come in and take over those opportunities, which they should be doing anyway, and how they've been able to perform. So frankly, I'm more, I don't want to say ever welcoming of an injury, but it doesn't really scare me. To me, I just looked at it from a silver lining perspective. This just means kids are going to get into play and play more, and I expect much of the same for them to be able to perform. So I'm not overly concerned from a hockey perspective as much as I am from a health perspective.
Greg?
Yeah, obviously the Murphy injury is the one that is going to affect the team more significantly. He's basically your top defensive defenseman, but this isn't anything new. He's had nagging injuries ever since he's got here. His style of play he's going to get that type of stuff. As we discussed last week, we've got an overabundance of young defensemen that need playing time, so this is their chance. Next man up. Let's see how that works out. You don't want to see him out, but you can, they're used to having to cover that spot over the last couple of years with Shaw. Piggyback on what Shaun said, at some point you got to look yourself in the mirror and say, is it worth it at this point? I was surprised he came back this year. I wasn't expecting him to play this year. Now he's got another concussion. He's got to sit there at home. He's got 2 kids under the age of 3. You got to take a long, hard look and make that decision. Is it worth it at this point? I don't think it is, but I'm not going to attempt to get in the head of Andrew Shaw. It's probably kind of a scary place anyway. So, professional players, especially hockey players, they're wired differently than the rest of us. They're competitive beyond belief. But hopefully he makes the right decision here. I may not, anybody who's followed me on Twitter for the past 10 years knows I'm not a huge fan of Andrew Shaw, the player, but as far as Andrew Shaw, the person goes, I hope that he takes care of himself and makes the right decision, and whatever that may be for his family, and take care of those young kids. They want their dad around for a long time. And when we deal with concussions, it could be bad.
Gail?
All right, I'll go ahead and just reiterate what you guys both have already said about Murphy. It's tough to have him be out because he's definitely integral, but this is what it's all about. It's a chance for the other defenseman to step up and a goal.
Do nothing.
So and he's hopefully just out for that 10 to 14 days, and that's I don't know, I think we're 5 or 6 days into that as well. So hopefully he'll be back soon. The point that I would like to make about Shaw, everything that you guys have said, and whatever his future holds, the more power to him. He's got to make that decision and hope for the best. But I think what the team is going to miss impact-wise from him is, Shaw's just that fun-loving guy. He's the guy in the locker room that makes everybody laugh. He's the jokester. He kind of takes the pressure off, and every time anybody brings up Shaw, that the new players are always talking about him and how he makes them feel comfortable. And so I think he's going to be missed mostly in the locker room versus actually on the ice.
Yes, I agree with that. He's kind of like the big entertainer, but also kind of the big supporter of the team. He seems like a good glue to everyone, and it's also, like I said, it just sucks for him that this is what it's come to again for him. And I was also sad because he seemed like he was doing really well, I thought, this year for him anyways. He was good on the power play, I thought. And I mean, Connor Murphy, for that matter, too, it sucks to lose your best defenseman in that manner. But like you said, maybe last year, if this happened to Murphy, we'd be like, oh crap, this is really bad. But now you're kind of like, okay, well, now our rookies get even more time to step up and show what they got in his absence. And I guess same with Shaw too, for that matter. But yeah, it does stink a lot, but hopefully it doesn't impact them too much. I don't think it is right now, because like Gail said, there was another goal scored. Who was it? Was it Kubalik?
Who scored? Kubalik?
Kubalik? Okay, so it's 2-0. Okay, I think my stream's a little backwards because I didn't see that goal until like 3 minutes after you said it. So, okay, anyways, moving on. We keep talking about the rookies that are stepping up big, which is great to see. That's what we hope to see from this season. But I want to talk about Carl Soderbergh, because the last game against Columbus, he had the game-winning goal to tie it up 2-2 in the third to bring them to their overtime win. And before that point, he had 1 point in 10 games. So it was nice to see his contributions finally start to show up. So how important do you think his contributions are to this team? Gail, I'm going to start with you.
All right. Well, first off, this very first goal from Janmark was primarily assisted from Soderbergh. So here he goes with another point right off the bat. I think that he is more important than we all think. As a 35-year-old veteran, he comes in. He did admit that he had some trouble getting acclimated. Obviously, we know he had the quarantine and the visa issues, so he came in late when everybody else was kind of already established. But what I think that he's going to do is offer that veteran presence. He's been part of 2 rebuilding teams in the Avalanche and the Coyotes. So this is old hat to him. This is kind of, right up his alley. And the other thing that I want to bring up is his face-off prowess. With Tays gone, you can't ask David Camp to win all the faceoffs. It's just, so these last 2 games, he's won 21 to 27 faceoffs for 78%. He's taking more faceoffs. And I think that that's just going to help ease the burden from everybody else. And it's going to help lead to more possession. So I think that he's going to be an important piece moving forward.
I agree. And I think something that stuck out to me about Soderbergh, especially in the Columbus game, is obviously we're a very young team right now. And like Kane said, we have to learn how to lose and also how they have to learn to win too. So Soderbergh to me stuck out because obviously he is a veteran and he knows how to win games. And I thought that contribution was very important from him because he knows exactly the places to be to win a game like that when it's that tight and you need that goal. So I thought that was amazing. And I was kind of really excited to see that because that's what we need, that kind of veteran presence that knows how to lead a team. And so I think that is going to be very important going forward. But it is nice to see how, because the rookies have performed well, that we weren't kind of like, oh, we need Soderbergh to step up here really bad because we ain't got nothing. So, but I'm really glad to see it. Greg, what do you think?
I wasn't shaking my head at you, Brooke.
No, it's okay.
Gave up a goal with 14 seconds in the period. Those are always fun.
Wait, they scored?
Detroit
Did they?
scored. 14 seconds to go.
Okay, I'm like at 30 seconds. I'm sorry, guys.
Sorry. Spoiler alert. Detroit scores in 16 seconds.
Who scored the goal, Greg?
I don't know. Somebody in red I've never heard of.
Okay, sorry, guys. It's too
Anyway,
long.
back to Soderbergh. I'm actually super happy you brought up Carl Soderbergh this week because I learned a fun fact that I've been waiting for the perfect moment to share with all of you guys. My Twitter pal Amanda, who is studying the Swedish language, when I called him Soda Bread a couple games ago, informed me that his name, if you actually pronouncing it correct in Swedish, it's Soderbergh, literally translates to Southern Mountains in Swedish. So I thought that was kind of a cool little fact. I told her I'm going to share that on Banter the first chance I get. So that's the main reason I'm happy that you brought him up. But as far as play, he's the type of guy that most of the stuff he does isn't going to show up on a score sheet. He's not. So any kind of goals and assists you get from him is just gravy. He's here to play defense, win faceoffs, as Gail says, kill penalties, and be a veteran leader. And anything else he can bring offensively, that's just the cherry on the Southern Mountain Sunday.
Totally agree. Sean, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to echo everything you've all said, and specifically what Greg just said. Knowing he wasn't brought in to be the top point producer, I have to admit that, as we all kind of spoke about in the preseason, I was looking forward to his presence coming in and sort of seeing how he would help with the leadership role and what his veteran presence could do, knowing he could still produce in some capacity and how that would help. I wasn't overly impressed with him to start off the campaign when he did finally get into gameplay. Not just from a points perspective, but because he just wasn't very noticeable. Even the things Greg noted that he was being brought in to do, I wasn't noticing. So it's been refreshing the past few games to see that he's been much better in those respects. Gail live tweets during most, if not all, games, and I've caught some of her stats as face-off prowess, especially as of late, and that's been great to see. Because I agree, if we can get that out of him, then I think that's a success. So it's been very refreshing to see that he sort of turned around in this early start to the season here and producing much better, even in that respect, even if it's not on the scoreboard, because he's now doing what we need him to do. So this team was already playing well without him doing that. So now I look forward to seeing how much better they can be with him producing in that way.
Yes, because I think all of us unanimously, agreed that Soderbergh was going to be, our big gun that was going to be the one to provide. And like you said, even if it's not on the score sheet, he is providing in other ways, which is what you kind of need. You need those types of players that can do the little things. And so now I'm going to go on to Duncan Keith, because something that keeps sticking out to me is one, that Coach Colleton keeps using the 11-7 thing, and we don't really like it that much, but as of the last few games, he hasn't done that, so kudos to him. But my point about that is Duncan Keith is a defenseman that gets 24 minutes of ice time a game, which currently leads the team. And usually you'd think if there's 7 defensemen out there, you'd want the rookies probably to get a lot of ice time. And if he's taking up the ice time, that can be kind of tricky. So I wanted to ask you guys, do you think that Colleton should spread out Keith's ice time to the rookies? Or are you okay with it? Are you okay with his minutes right now? Greg, starting with you.
It's a tough spot. You can't tell Duncan Keith that he's got to sit so some rookies can play when you're in a playoff spot at this point of the season. That's just good luck having that conversation with him. You need a dentist appointment quickly after that. He's playing, he's leading the team, as you said, 24 minutes. It's about what he's played his career, a little less. I think it's fine right now. As I said, the Hawks they're doing better than we expected. They're fighting, early on the season for a playoff spot. As things progress, if they're still in that position, then you're not going to limit his minutes. If they fall out, maybe you see it. The best way I think they could maybe limit some of his minutes just to save his legs in this condensed season is just take him off a power play unit completely. He's never been great on the power play. I don't know why we think he's this elite power play quarterback. He never has been. He can't get it. He's still off there all these years. And I love Duncan Keith. He's one of my favorite players of all time. But if hitting shin pads on a slap shot from the point was a category, he would be the all-time first ballot Hall of Fame leader of that category. So let's get Mitchell Bodine, Boquist on the power plays, that can save Keith 2 or 3 minutes a night. Keep him fresh when you need him if you're still competing for a playoff spot late in the season.
I agree with that. Shaun?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that it should be looked at like Keith's minutes would be limited as though it's been a punishment. First and foremost, I think Keith absolutely deserves all of our praise for the workload that he continues to manage, that we continue to see game in and game out, year in and year out. I haven't been shy about saying that I do think that this was going to be a year where his minutes should have been cut back. So I'll agree with the latter part of what Greg said there, that it's just more about being a little more strategic with how he's utilized. I don't want to say that he'd be limited, again, like it sounds like a punishment or like he's being sat. I don't think that's the case at all. I just think that there needs to be a full buy-in from all the veteran presence. And I think we've seen that there has been, even in some of the quotes we're seeing from players like Mitchell in terms of how Keith is helping him along. I think this just goes hand in hand with limiting those minutes in that respect. Again, not in a punishment, but in the sake of how can we spread the wealth here and get these youth to be playing more in important times, and what can they make of those opportunities. Alongside that, another point Greg brought up is it's just more a matter of being impactful with the minutes that you do give Keith. So maybe you're keeping him a little bit fresher, as much of a fitness freak as he is. Giving him a little bit of time to rest isn't a bad thing. Be more strategic with where he's playing, and perhaps it'll be more beneficial for his own play and the team itself. So all in all, there's too many benefits around to cutting back on those minutes, even just a little bit. Like Greg said, you limit maybe a power play shift here or there, or maybe you're just giving those rookies a couple extra minutes here or there, and it'll all round itself out. But the point is, cut back on some of those minutes, let the rookies get in there, and that's what this year's supposed to be.
Yeah, that was kind of where my thought process was going, about the fact that this year's about the rookies, and let's see more of what they can do. And this is actually, like you just said, not a knock on Duncan Keith. We love him. He's one of a kind. He's an asset every time he's on that ice. It's not about him. It's more about, if we want to see how our rookies are going to play, we should probably give them more ice time. And honestly, at this point, our rookie defensemen, I think, have been playing better than we expected. If they were a hot mess, then I think we'd be talking a little different here. But I feel like the rookies have proved they can hang so far, so why not give them more ice time, see what they can do. Bodine is starting to look a little more comfortable, obviously. Mitchell is looking a lot more comfortable and confident. But like I said, there is nothing wrong with Keith and his ice time, but I wouldn't mind giving more of that to the rookies at this point. But either way, I guess it's not hurting us right now, but so I guess we can talk about that later on in the season too. But so our next thing I want to talk about is obviously Detroit, because as we're right in the middle of the game, although we're in the first intermission. So what do you guys, so we're 2-1, right? As of right now. Okay. So we started out pretty strong. Okay. And then obviously we gave up a goal before the first period ended. So do you guys think there's any players, things to watch this game that you're looking for specifically from Detroit or our end specifically? Gail, I'm gonna start with you.
Okay, well, Detroit right now is 4-10-2. They just beat the Predators 4-2 on Saturday, so they're coming off a win,
which is great.
What?
Which is great. We hate the Preds.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, I'd rather have them win, right?
Yeah.
They only lost by 1 goal the 2 games before that, and then they actually beat the Florida Panthers, who are pretty hot. Pretty hot. I didn't expect them to start this good. They beat them, so I think that they're on a little bit of a roll. So I guess my point is, don't take them for granted. If I was Colleton, I would say, don't take these guys for granted. You got to play hard to beat these guys. Don't look at their record. So let's hope that we don't have a couple upsets here.
Greg?
Yeah, that's pretty much, there goes Gail taking my thoughts again. No, that was pretty much exactly what I was going to say. The Blackhawks are not a team that's in any kind of position to take anybody for granted and just think throwing your jerseys on the ice is going to get you 2 points. So, yes, they've been playing better than expected. Detroit's playing worse than I think a lot of us expected, but that doesn't mean anything. That's what the games are played on the ice, not on paper. So you gotta play 60 minutes. They had a little bit of a lapse there in the final minute of the period. It cost them. Those are the type of things I think we saw a little bit of that in that first Columbus game where the Hawks came in overly confident, and just thought, hey, we got a lead, we're cool. And then they ended up losing, it was their first regulation loss in quite some time. So just don't overlook them. Play a full 60 minutes and they should be fine.
Sean?
Yeah, similar to what's already been said here, but no knock on the franchise or their fan base, really. Objectively speaking, I expected Detroit to be doing at least a little bit better than they are. So it is surprising to see how poorly they have started, but whether that evens itself out or not, I don't know. But you got to hope that the Blackhawks don't look at it the same way, because as has already been said, you can't take any of these teams for granted. These are rivals all in all, and these are going to be important games, even if that's the only thing on the line. Neither of these teams wants to lose to the other. So you got to hope the Hawks are getting into this set, any of these sets. But when they're playing a team like this with such a storied history, the team they've played the most out of any in the entire league, they got to get in there hungry. It doesn't matter what Detroit's done recently or what they haven't done. The Hawks still need to be playing the way they have. A player to watch for me would be DeBrincat. Obviously, he's been lights out so far most of the way here. 8 points in his last 5 games. 3 game winners is what stands out to me. While you don't want all your production coming from one player, that's hard to ignore. So 3 game winners in the past 5 games is something that the Red Wings certainly want to take notice of here, and something that I hope DeBrincat can continue throughout this set.
Yeah, I agree. There's Detroit obviously kind of gives me 2 thoughts. One is that they are a professional hockey team, so we could say teams are good or bad, but it doesn't matter. Everyone in the NHL is professional. Any professional team can beat a team on any given night. It doesn't matter. So, yeah, if you go in overly confident, that's when you get in trouble. Obviously, Austin Matthews did that, thinking that Detroit had had every easy competition, and then they ended up losing. So you can't do that. But something about Detroit also that they're both on a high right now, I think, because the Blackhawks came off a big win, and obviously they came off a big win. So I think they're both kind of playing hot, and maybe this will be a better matchup than last time because they had a lot of players out with COVID. So I would think a player that kind of is on my radar is Zadina. I think he was out last time we faced him, and obviously he's a rookie that's got games. So, but I'm obviously eyeing every rookie on our team, their team. It's all about the rookies on both teams. So yeah, like I said, we should be okay if we play the full 60 minutes, but who knows? This league is weird. You got to play the game. Who knows? But
So,
I think we should be good.
Brooke, I should mention your boy that Brandon Hagel got moved up to the second line. He's playing on the second line this game. So that's something to keep an eye on as we go here to see if he earns his keep up there.
Oh yeah, maybe with Kubalik or Strome, he maybe will get a better shot at his first NHL goal too. Who knows? Should be exciting.
He had the assist on Kubalik's goal.
Yeah.
Did he have the second? The first assist. Yeah. And he already had a breakaway too. I saw that earlier.
I think he's our top breakaway player of the year. He's our, like you said, he's kind of like our Saad of this year with the breakaways.
Yeah, he's the top guy at getting them. Scoring on them, that's another story.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a bummer, but it'll have to happen at some point, probably. You think. So our next topic is obviously about Wyatt Kalynuk because he was recalled from the Rockford Ice Hogs. He's a defenseman, if you guys don't know who he is. He had 1 goal and 1 assist in 2 games with Rockford before he was called up. And Colleton mentioned that he will see the ice at some point, but that's to be determined as of now. So what do you expect him to bring to the Blackhawks defensive group? Sean, I'm going to go with you.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to what Kalynuk's going to bring. I mean, reading up on him a little bit in the offseason, I put him in my prospects that should be protected for this franchise because everything I read was good. When you look back at some of his history, I know it hasn't been at the NHL level, so obviously that can't go understated here, but he's produced at every level he's played at with every team he's played with. So while I am more of a traditionalist that I think defensemen should put defense first, the reality is, I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do to come in and perhaps help their 5-on-5 numbers. If they're going to get a little bit of production from the back end with him there, I'm all for it. I mean, obviously that shouldn't be the priority, but if they're getting that out of him as a bonus, then hey, that's okay too. Let alone the fact, first and foremost, what I really want to look for out of him is getting the praise he's getting with the comparisons that he's already received from players like Kane, saying that he's similar to Taves. That's big praise for a kid that hasn't even stepped foot in a pro game yet in this respect. So I'm curious to see what that means, why people say that, and what kind of leadership he can really bring to this group who is, unfortunately lacking it. Not that the other veterans aren't stepping up, but there's no Taves. So next best thing, bringing a player who everyone is saying is the next Taves in that respect. So I look forward to that first and foremost, really what that leadership can entail on the ice and how it can sort of bring this group together.
Yes, Taves comparisons is certainly one to get you really excited. Gail, what about you?
All right. Well, I did actually have a chance. Greg gave me a tip about free AHL over the weekend, and I did actually watch the first Ice Hawks game. And Kalynuk did really stand out. I mean, you could tell he protected the puck while he was calm and confident. And of course, I'll take all the details. I'll let Greg speak to that because he's watched him much more. But I think it would be great. We'll see how this translates. He is going to get in, so we'll see how it translates to the NHL level. I'd like to see him get a good, handful of games, maybe 3 or 4 games in a row. And then he can take what he learned and take it back to the Ice Hogs and hone his skills from there. So it'll be interesting to see how Colleton works it out. He's got this pipeline of defensemen, and so far he's got getting everybody in there.
Greg?
Yeah, he looked pretty good his first 2 games with Rockford. He's a good skater. Responsible on his own end. He's confident. You can just tell that he was not hesitant at all. It was his first pro game. It was his first hockey game of any kind in almost a year. And he's playing with Cody Franzen down there, which is a really good veteran guy to have next to you. So he looked good in just the 2 games. Those are really the only 2 games I've seen him play. But I get wanting to have guys up on the taxi squad for road trips because you never know, injuries, illness. You need guys. But if they don't get him into the lineup soon, I would prefer he go back to Rockford and play. That's where he's going to really get the development. It's in the game action. It's not practicing. Though he did talk with us in Ice Hogs Media Day last week, and he was impressive. Kid, he's very well spoken, which always stands out to me, especially at that level when you can form complete sentences. That's always a plus. I always like guys who are good quotes, but he talked about his time with the Hawks during training camp in those first few weeks, and he said that he learned a lot practicing with the team. He said he learned a lot about the little things, like watching a guy like Duncan Keith, just those little things you got to do to prepare for a game, and within the game, the stuff none of us really sees. And he says he needs to incorporate more of that preparation time to succeed. And he also gave a lot of credit to working with Brian Campbell down in Rockford. Soupy is a assistant coach / player development. He's been down there. I think this is his 3rd season working with the defensemen. And it's obviously paying off when you look at guys, like Bodine and Carlson and Boquist who have worked with him and have come up to the NHL and played well. So, as I said, if he's not going to get in game action, send him back down to work with Soupy because that appears to be a good recipe for success.
I thought that too. When Colleton said, I don't know when it's going to be, I'm like, okay, well, if you're going to play that game, then what's the point? Like, he should be seeing the most ice time he can get, honestly, especially if he was playing well in Rockford. You don't want to take that away from him either, but I understand we're all excited to see him. Like, selfishly, my family and I are huge Wisconsin Badgers fans, so knowing that he came from there, that kind of like selfishly makes me really excited about him. But also, I noticed a lot of our defensemen are very offensive minded. He seems like he's got that knack too, which kind of brings another exciting element. But I think whenever he does play, it's just going to be really fun. He'll bring like an extra level of competitiveness, I think, to our core. And I think it'll be really fun. We already got fun prospects. So he'll just add to the fun, I think. So whenever that happens, we'll all be ready and excited, right? But yeah, I agree. If he's not going to play for a while, then that I think it would be better for him to be at Rockford. But who are we to say? We're not the coach, right? We're not making the decisions, although we wish we would sometimes.
They're on a 6-game road trip right now, so
right.
Yeah, you got to have your bodies, which stinks. It's bad timing because the Ice Hogs are going to be playing 4 home games in the next 7 days. So it would have been a perfect time to get him to play. But as Brooke just said, those are not our decisions.
Yeah.
And you need to have guys on road trips because you never know. Someone sneezes and he's out, so you need to have somebody there ready to play.
True. Yeah, that's a good point too. Whatever happens, but it'll be exciting either way, no matter what happens. So that brings us to our final topic, which is the week ahead. So obviously we're in this series with Detroit for tonight, and on Friday. And then we are at a back-to-back with Carolina. To Detroit tonight and Wednesday. I'm sorry. I said that wrong. And then a back-to-back with Carolina on Friday and Saturday. So I know we don't really like predictions because the Blackhawks like to mess with our predictions and usually we're way off. But do you guys have give me your final thoughts, expectations for the week ahead, or tonight and the week ahead, I guess I should say. Greg, start with you.
Well, we've kind of already touched on the Detroit games. It's just kind of not take them for granted, and you got to work hard. Those Carolina games will be interesting. I think we snuck up on them a bit when they were here a week ago or so. It took 3 out of 4 points from them, and so they're going to be looking for a little payback. And this will be interesting too, because I think, if I stand correct, I might be wrong. It's been known to happen. I think this is the first time the Hawks are playing in back-to-back days this season. Is that right?
I believe so.
I think so.
So it will be interesting to see what happens there. Obviously, you're going to want to go with goalie situations. We talked, before we hit the air, we talked about Delia getting a game. So maybe that's a chance for him to get in. And maybe that's a chance where we see some of these defensemen we just talked about get in and play. So that's what I'll be looking for, wanting to see what happens with that lineup Friday into Saturday.
Shaun?
I fully expect a sweep here against the Red Wings. 2 games, I think the Hawks are going to take both, so I'm hoping that I'm right there. Again, I'll say, echo exactly what Greg just said. Seeing Carolina again is not going to be an easy matchup. The Hawks certainly played well, obviously, during 3 out of 4, but Carolina is no slouch, and they're not a pushover. So I think the Carolina specifically is going to come back looking for revenge, and the Hawks are going to have to face that head on. So that's going to be a much tougher set. And, I hope the Hawks can maybe squeeze 1 point perhaps and through an overtime game out of that set.
Gail?
They did actually have a back-to-back with Nashville.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Tuesday, Wednesday. So this would be the second one, but still.
We all forget about Nashville because we don't care about them. So
Yeah.
Their game
You
got
dismissed
postponed
them.
tonight. Nashville.
Okay, so I'm going to say again, I think it's too good to be true for them to sweep the Red Wings. But if they do, oh my gosh, if they do, they'll be on a roll. So I guess if I had to make a prediction, I would say that they'll take 3 out of the 4 games, and I'm really hoping they can keep the momentum and do that.
I agree. I mean, I still agree with all you guys that we shouldn't be going into games like thinking we just have it in the bag, even with Detroit, but I still have a good feeling that we'll take them in this series. But like I said, I know there's room for kind of skepticism there because it does seem too good to be true, but I still have a good feeling. Carolina, I'm actually really excited about, though. We seem to match up with them pretty well so far this season, and they're like really kind of fun, high-intensity games so far. Like their matchups have been so entertaining, so I'm excited to see what will come of that. I expect Carolina to play a little better than they did last time, but that should make it even more fun, a more even high intensity battle. So I'm really excited about that. I think we have a good opportunity here this week. I have a good feeling about this week. Hope they don't let me down. So we'll just keep the good times rolling, right? Like just keep the fun going. I don't want this to end. This is fun.
Yeah.
So that will conclude our episode of Blackhawks Banter for this week. Sorry that we kind of were all over the place because we're in the middle of a game, but we hope you guys enjoyed this and stay warm and enjoy the rest of the game tonight and the weeks ahead. Go Hawks. Thanks again, Shaun, Gail, and Greg for joining. Good night, guys.